I want you to imagine for a minute. Imagine, for example, that you're in a giant room, huge, so big that you can't actually see any of the walls around you. You know you're in a room, but whatever. You can't see how far it goes. And part of the reason why is because you are laying on the floor face down with your arms by your side. And around you is all sorts of other people that are similarly lying face down with their arms by their side. Now, picture somewhere in the middle of this group of people, somebody manages to get their knees underneath them, gets their ass up in the air, and then manages, because of that, because of this heavy canvas that seems to be lying on all of us, is sort of lifted up enough so that the person can get their arms underneath them. And then that helps the people beside, like directly beside and above and below that person. They're a little bit of that canvas's weight has been lifted off so that they can actually lift their asses up in the air and their arms get underneath them. And then they lift enough of the canvas off of that first guy that he can kind of, maybe get up on his knees, which then lifts enough weight off of the ring of people around him that they can get up on their knees, which allows the people in a ring around them to get their ass up in the air and then their hands underneath them. And eventually what you end up with is that first guy is standing there, or guy or girl, who cares? The guy is standing there, like straight up. And he's got his arms up above his head and he's pushing the canvas that is above everybody. That seemingly ubiquitous, oppressive weight that is on everybody gets lifted a little bit by the first guy, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then it goes out in kind of a ring, like an expansion from that first guy, or that first group, or that first whatever. At first, nobody can get up. They can't even move. But once you get somebody who struggles enough to get just a little bit of weight off of the people around them, if those people around that person help them by getting up, then that makes that person's job a little bit easier so they can get a little bit higher, which makes the weight less on the people around them again, and they can get up a little bit further, and that takes the weight off the people around them on the outside ring. That's the way that this whole men's movement thing has worked, okay? That is what we have done. And that was the goal. The men's movement was never about being some kind of continuous, what was it that Fiedelbogen called feminism? The eternal revolution or something. I can't remember. But the whole point was to avoid becoming feminism, but for men. And there are, this is more of a personal blog than anything, but there are a lot of people out there that actually think, for example, that I'm mad that when I say, like, they're saying that I'm mad that I'm not like E.F. Hutton, right? When E.F. Hutton speaks, everyone listens. No, the only time I ever bring up my past is usually to tell people, listen, I understand what's going on. You may disagree with me, but at least give me the benefit of knowing that I understand what is going on. I've been around long enough that I understand. I don't crave any kind of fame. I don't. As a matter of fact, I've done everything I can to get out of the fucking spotlight as fast as possible as soon as it starts swinging my way. Um, I'm very, very happy. I just want people to know that. I mean, if anybody really cares, I'm very, very, very happy with the way I see things going. I mean, I look at and you know, Milo took a punch in the head. He's going to come back. I mean, come on. Lauren Southern is going up the scales, and she just basically, I mean, she had almost nothing to do with the Manosphere, but the Manosphere is what catapulted her into where she is now. Um, Gamergate is a product of the Manosphere. Those people would not have done what they did if they did not have some precedent before them pushing them in that direction. And it just seems to be a weird coincidence that a lot of guys that were actually fairly prominent in the early Manosphere were big in Gamergate as well. Weird, hey? Um, so if I look at what's going on right now, I'm super happy. I can't. This is exactly. I mean, if you were to get right down to it, if you were to ask me, for example, you know, in 2009 or 2008, what's the best course of action that the men's rights movement could take? I would say the best thing that we could do is to propagate our ideas, make them popular, make them countercultural, because I've always said, and anybody who's got any experience with me at all, holy shit, my hair is sticking up, knows that the way that I characterize the best way for the men's movement to portray themselves is to be the James Dean type character rather than the Steve Urkel type character. And by that I mean, you know, the men's movement is actually best served by being a rebellious counterculture, much like punk, etc., than by being an inoffensive plea for help, for lack of a better term. Which is why I have such a huge problem with these fucking spineless little bastards that are running the Reddit at Men's Rights, and I have kind of an ongoing feud with them just simply because I find them so fucking odious. It's just ridiculous. But in the main, I mean, you take a look at what's going on. I mean, we had Milo Yiannopoulos doing a college tour, making men's issues cool, countercultural. That's the kind of stuff that people that are, you know, they're sticking it to the men. They're talking about men's issues. Why? Because of Milo, among others. But Milo took men's issues and made them countercultural, made them cool. That's exactly what I was hoping to have had happen. I was just really hoping to have these men's rights become the new punk movement, so to speak. I mean, like just to make it the fucking president of the United States pays attention to men's issues. How much progress do you need? Yes, nothing has happened yet, but I mean, look at the shit this guy has to deal with. And then look at all the problems that are facing. And ask yourself, how quickly is he going to jump on things like, I don't know. Well, there are some issues that he should jump on right away that he hasn't. But honestly, who's brought them to his attention? The closest thing that's gotten is, like, yeah, Milo, for example, and it's strange, but the alt-right, I believe the alt-right came straight out of the Manosphere. But all these vectors that men's issues kind of launched themselves into the public domain in, Red Pill, PUA, game, etc., Um, they've injected themselves into the public consciousness, but the problem is that a lot of other things have presented themselves as more immediate concerns to the president and et cetera. And I hate this is where the men's rights movement proper has completely failed, and it's all of the things that we were hoping to have happen, all of the social memes and all, you could not ask for a better or more fertile ground for activism, right? Other than having what you are being an activist for already be the de facto belief of everybody in society. Okay? That's the only way that it would be better than this. There is the diaspora of ideas through the manosphere and into popular culture. The words that are being used, the term the red pill is being used all over the place. And yes, it came from the Matrix, but it was popularized by an article by Keone Galt called Game is the Red Pill. That's fact. That is fact. I mean, all these things, and even if that wasn't the only thing about it, all the other discussion about red pill in terms of the terms that it's being used today, all of that came from the other aspects of the manosphere. So even if it isn't just Keone Galt, it was Keone Galt and say, I don't know, Soswav, right? So how much success do you need before it becomes time to actually start demanding some kind of action? How much success do you need before it's time to organize and get funding and get lawyers and get PACs and get lobbyists? And why? Why is the men's rights movement so fucking ineffective? I'll tell you. Because there are people involved in the men's movement and have been for a while that have basically supplanted the concern and the activism for men with their own political ideology. Their politics takes precedence over men's issues. I'm very happy with the way things are in the manosphere, etc. I'm very happy with the way things are in culture. I see the way things are developing, and I see way more people waking up than I ever thought possible when I first started doing this. But I'll tell you, there are people trying to take this stuff over. People trying to tell you that, you know, the men's movement started this way and became better by becoming more acceptable this way, etc. They're lying to you. It is convergence. It's the same shit they do in every other organization. If you're an MRA, read Social Justice Warriors Always Lie. Read it. And then pay attention to what's going on around you, because you are being taken over. You have been for a while.